You know, when you think about modern engineering, we have done some truly incredible things. We've literally walked on the moon, we build skyscrapers that scrape the clouds, we've even tunneled under entire oceans. And yet, there's this one ancient wonder, sitting out there in the desert for 4,500 years, that still makes the best engineers on the planet just scratch their heads. The Great Pyramid of Giza.
So, that leads us to the big question, right? Could we actually do it again? With all our cranes, our computers, our advanced tech, could we build an exact copy of the Great Pyramid today? Well, the short answer is going to surprise you. It's no. And the biggest reason why has nothing to do with technology or even the insane cost. It's something way, way more fundamental.
Okay, to even begin to understand why, you first have to wrap your head around the scale of this thing. It is just mind-boggling. The Great Pyramid weighs 6 million tons. To put that in perspective, that's like taking 6 million cars and stacking them all on top of each other. In fact, there aren't even that many cars in the entire city of Cairo today.
And that insane weight comes from 2.3 million individual blocks of stone. And listen, we're not talking about bricks you can carry. A lot of these blocks are the size of an SUV. The smallest ones weigh about 2 tons, and the biggest, they top out at a staggering 80 tons apiece.
All of this is piled 147 meters high into the sky. That's basically a 40-story office building, and it covers an area the size of 10 football fields. For all intents and purposes, this isn't a building. It's a man-made mountain.
There's this great quote from the famous archaeologist Zahi Hawass. He said, "Egypt did not build the pyramids built Egypt." And that just hits the nail on the head. The effort was so huge, it literally created a nation. And that points to the real problem. The ancient Egyptians had this incredibly powerful, unifying purpose, a deep religious drive to build an eternal home for their king, who they saw as a god. We just don't have that. But hey, for fun, let's pretend we do.
So, let's imagine some global group has decided, yep, let's build another one. Before we can even dream of stacking stones, we have to deal with what's underneath it all, the foundation. And that, right there, is an immense challenge. To give you some idea of the forces we're dealing with, let's look at the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa. Its foundation has to support about 500,000 tons. Our pyramid? It's going to weigh 12 times that. So if we get the base wrong, this multi-billion-dollar project turns into the world's most expensive sinkhole.
So, how do we do it today? Well, first we need a stable, 13-acre plot of land. That'll be about $120 million, thank you very much. Then another $5 million for seismic scans to make sure it's earthquake-proof. Next up is leveling, and the precision has to be perfect. The Egyptians did this by carving channels in the rock, filling them with water, and then chiseling everything down to that perfect waterline. Genius. We just use GPS-guided bulldozers. But you can't be off. A single millimeter error at the base means the peak is off by almost 15 centimeters. Finally, we wouldn't just build on the rock, oh no. We'd pour a 4-meter thick mat of reinforced concrete and steel, a 500,000-ton base just to support our new mountain.
So get this, we are years into this project. We have not sourced a single block for the actual pyramid, and we have already spent over $500 million just on the groundwork. Let that sink in.
Okay, our super expensive foundation is ready. Now we have to face what is frankly a logistical nightmare, getting our hands on 2.3 million SUV-sized blocks of stone.
Our best tool for this job today is a diamond wire saw. It's an industrial monster. But even one of these can only cut about 100 blocks a day. At that rate, it would take us 63 years just to get our materials. So, to hit a more reasonable 5-year timeline, we'd have to build a gigantic, dedicated factory right at the quarry, running 250 of these machines 24/7.
And the costs, they are just astronomical. $25 million just for the saws. The raw limestone and granite itself, about $1.1 billion. And powering this mega factory, it would need 20 megawatts of continuous electricity for 5 years. That's the same amount of power the entire country of Italy uses in a single day. And it would cost another $155 million. And that's before taxes.
You know, the Egyptians had a brilliant solution for transport. The Nile. They'd just float these massive blocks for hundreds of miles on barges. Simple, elegant. Our modern way? It would have to be one of the biggest transport operations in human history. To get the stone we need, we'd have to run a constant convoy of 500 heavy-duty trucks on the road 24/7 for 5 straight years. Just the fuel and logistics for that would cost over $200 million.
Okay, let's check the running total.
We are now at $2 billion. Just to be clear, the entire Burj Khalifa was built for $1.5 billion. We've spent way more than that, and we still haven't placed a single block on our foundation. All we have is a concrete slab and a very big pile of rocks.
So the materials are finally arriving. A new truck pulling in every 10 minutes. Now we get to the really hard part. The most dangerous, the most iconic phase of the whole project. Lifting millions of tons of stone to the height of a skyscraper with millimeter accuracy. This is the ultimate engineering puzzle. Those blocks at the top, the ones that make up the roof of the king's chamber, they weigh up to 80 tons each. So how, with all our modern power, do you lift the weight of a battle tank up a 40-story building? The simple answer is, you don't. You can't. The laws of physics are just not on our side here. There is no single mobile crane on Earth that can lift 80 tons that high. Why? Because the longer a crane's arm gets, the less it can lift at the very end. So our only real option would be this crazy, custom-built, interlocking network of the world's biggest tower cranes. It would be incredibly complex, incredibly dangerous, because you'd have to keep taking the cranes apart and rebuilding them at higher levels as the pyramid got taller. And even with all that tech, matching the precision of the original builders, who fit these huge blocks so tight you can't slip a business card between them, that would be a massive, maybe even impossible challenge.
So, we're in the home stretch of our little thought experiment. The blocks are going up. Now it's time to tally up the final bill, which includes the people doing the work and the one stunning feature that made the original pyramid a true wonder of the ancient world.
We'll need a skilled crew of about 3,000 people. Over 5 years, that's about $400 million in paychecks and support. Our crazy crane network, that's going to cost at least $300 million just to rent and maintain. But here's the final piece of the puzzle. The rough, sand-colored pyramids we see today, that's just the core. Originally, they were covered in 115,000 blocks of polished, white Tura limestone. The surface was perfectly smooth. It would have shone in the sun like a beacon, visible for miles. To do that again would cost another $250 million. So that brings us to the final bill. All told, we're looking at a grand total of just under $3 billion. And look where the money goes. The bulk of it, over $1.5 billion, is just for the rocks and moving them around. For that kind of cash, you could build other modern marvels, like SoFi Stadium in LA, or the giant Palm Jumeirah Island in Dubai.
And remember, our $3 billion estimate, that's being generous. It doesn't include massive costs like road taxes for that endless convoy of trucks, electricity duties, or, building a dedicated power plant just to run the whole site. The real cost would be way, way higher.
So it all comes back to our original question. Look, we know $3 billion projects happen, so money isn't the final roadblock. And the math shows that, yeah, it's monumentally difficult, but it is technically possible. Which leaves us with a much bigger question. Was the Egyptians' greatest tool their ramps and levers? Or was it a shared generational purpose that we, in our modern world, simply can't rebuild?